listening to Kane and Randy on Scratch the Vinyl.
Scratch the Vinyl.
All right, everybody. Welcome back to Scratch the Vinyl. You guys made it back, and we're so glad that you did. I have a special guest in studio right now. It's amazing. The energy in the room is, or flatulence. It depends on what we ate the night before. It is absolutely booming in here, and it's amazing to have him. So let's talk about it right now, and let's bring him on. Randy, Mr. Chill Wilson, welcome to the studio, my friend.
Well, it's always great to be in studio with you, Kane.
It is. I know the audio will certainly be better. I know how Zoom does us from time to time, but Randy, we have some big guests and fellow podcasters that we're bringing on, and why waste the sauce? Why even, usually we do this giant intro and everything, and why waste it at this point?
No, let's just get them on here.
Let's get them on. So they are from the We Were Loud Once podcast. They're from O-Town. Just a stone's throw away from us. We have Jeff and Dan. How are you guys doing?
Good. How are you guys?
Well, it's a tremendous day here in Lincoln.
It is. It's. I don't know about you guys, but it's like there's obviously fires going on all over.
Right.
Seasonably strange right now. But are you guys getting it like we are? Like there's like a haze all throughout Lincoln.
Yeah.
You can literally smell it. Is it like that in Omaha?
Yeah, it's just like messing with everybody's allergies and everything. It's rough, but
Yeah.
I
Mine
feel
are on
bad
fire,
for everybody
literally.
involved. But but
Why do I keep seeing these posts about that we're finally winter is over? But like every week we have some 80-degree swing in the temperature. That's what I want.
I'm to the point where I keep staring at my snowblower, sadly, in my garage, and it's taking up just enough spot where I'm like, I'm going to put it in the shed. But if I do that, I know that winter is going to come down like an eagle.
That's
It's going to ruin my day.
18 inches immediately.
Yep.
As soon as you lock the lock, boom.
It never fails.
I wrestle with that every winter too.
Yep.
I don't have a snowblower. And every, summer I'm like, oh, I should buy one. They're on sale. They're trying to get rid of them. And then I never do it. And then that first snow happens. I'm like, I should have bought the snowblower, last summer. And then I'm like, oh, well, I got to shovel it anyway now. So who cares? And, rinse, repeat every year. And I still don't have a snowblower. I've lived here my entire life.
It's the bipolar Midwest, man. We all have to deal with it. It sucks, but it's, I'm loving the fact that we're having 90s and 100-degree days.
Right. It's crazy.
So let's go. I mean, I'm ready to fish. I'm ready. So I got to tell you guys, with it being so exciting, the reason I'm so excited to have you guys on is because I am a major connoisseur and lover of the new metal, specifically era of metal. I mean, this was the most formative time in my life where I went to shows. I tried to play in bands. I did all this stuff during that time. I mean, we'll just say I like to say from 95 to 2010 is a nice fat sweet spot. And I can just tell you guys up front, I mean, when I heard $3 bills, y'all, for the first time, on my way to high school to get my locker, my locker number and everything, my buddy pops it in and he goes, dude, you got to hear this. I hear Freddie D and the boys come on, and it was over for me at that point. I was in love with it. I was hooked with the fact that they blended rap and metal together. And you guys had a nice little heyday there. I mean, you guys played in Downshift. What was it like for you? I mean, my initial question would be for either of you, whoever wants to answer, is like, when did it hit you that was what you wanted to do? Like, what was it about new metal that really did it for you?
I guess I could go first, from a guitar standpoint, I suppose. In the mid-late 90s, that was just kind of what it was. We didn't know that it was going to become new metal, per se. It was just metal. It was just what we were doing. And, we were all massive Korn fans, in high school. And that really kind of shaped what we were doing. And it just it was a natural evolution, really. Everybody wanted a 7-string, everybody wanted a Mesa triple rectifier, and everybody was kind of chasing that. And, then something like Follow the Leader comes out and it was just everywhere. And then it kind of had a name, I think, at that point. I don't know when it started being called new metal. But it was everywhere at that point. It was just kind of what we did. And, I think one of the pivotal moments for me when it really solidified is when Jeff and I started working together.
Yeah. So my side of that, I was in bands since I was like 17 years old, playing bass, playing drums, whatever. And then, so the band that I was in when I started singing, it was like we were just trying to find ourselves. I was trying to figure out what we wanted to do. I think Godsmack was kind of big at the time. And so we were kind of having a sound like that. And I was like, yeah, I'm not really digging that so much. And then like I heard Cold Chamber and I was like, oh, holy smokes, this is pretty cool. And then I was just like driving with my buddy one day, just in his Blazer, just, that's when we all had kicker sound systems and everything. And it was like louder in our cars than a concert, And so I was just sitting there and like one day I was like, I wonder if I can scream like this. And then I just did it. I'm like, all right, well, there's that. And then, so I showed up to practice, the next day and just grabbed my microphone. I'm like, hey guys, check this out. And I just like, laid it out, just, and it was like, okay, well, that stepped up a notch, like, what are we going to do now, So yeah, so we just started going real heavy from that point. And, I was in the band Vortex at the time, based out of Fremont, Nebraska, and we got a pretty good following and played a whole ton of shows, and we played with Downshift a bunch and kind of interwove circles, the Venn diagram of all that. But yeah, like what Dan said, I think when we started taking it really, really serious, because back then we were just all having fun, and it was like, you just never knew, it was like sometimes you'd have a show with 10 people, sometimes you'd have a show with 1,000, and it was like, whoa, like this is rad. And, but like, I think, I'll spare the whole story or whatever, but like, obviously Downshift was already a machine when I joined it. And that was the thing that kind of, brought me in was, Dan was just so dedicated, towards the business side of it. And that's where I was starting to go. And like my bandmates at the time just weren't pushing. They just didn't have the entrepreneurial spirit. And so I just knew, we're working with Dan for like a week, just kind of going back and forth through emails and going over demos and stuff like that. I was like, I think I want to join this, and so I officially tried out, and it was a great tryout. I'd like to say, and
I think it went pretty well.
Yeah, it went pretty well. But yeah, well, there's some inside stories on that. So our drummer Cameron at the time, he was a little eccentric of a person and quite the clown. And so he like got up from his drum set and started dry humping Dan and stuff. And it was pretty funny. He had to be there, but and no Cameron. But either which way, no, that's like Dan said, we just hit it off like really, really well, and just, started going full throttle and just never stopped, and again, we were really blessed. We had a decent following in Omaha and the Midwest, and we got to play with a bunch of cool freaking bands and got to play with a bunch of idols, got to meet a lot of really cool people, and we were living the dream. And like you said, Kane, at that time, I mean, it's like one of those things where you just almost take it for granted because you don't realize that you're riding a wave, and it was just like at that period of time, the music was just so on fire, and like we were just eating it. It was so much fun. There's so many good bands, so many local bands, so many national bands. Yeah. It was just like, this is never going to stop, right? And then all of a sudden it was like, it went dead and everything went to, I don't know, whatever, some weird emo stuff or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, what did come next?
I don't know. Yeah. Like the 2000s went really weird and
metalcore.
Metalcore, that pretty much killed everything. But but here we are. I mean, metalcore's still there, but new metal is coming back because I think people are like, okay, every single new metalcore song for the past 15 years has been exactly the same, and we miss that diversity of having some rap, having some screaming, some turntables, some just crunch, some whatever, and that artistic value. New metal is coming back, and it's awesome, and it's cool seeing the old bands like Primer and Dry Kill Logic and all these bands coming back and doing new EPs and all this other stuff, and then also seeing these new bands coming out and like .bhp and Tala and stuff like that, and it's just like, heck yeah, dude, this is even better because now it's like we had this like 25-year-old-esque people group doing it. Now it's like we got 20-year-olds all the way
Kids.
up to 50-year-olds and everywhere in between.
Yeah.
It's just like this solid movement that's just killing it right now. So it's rad.
We started talking about, and maybe not quite a year ago, but we started saying the same things. Like, we think this is now coming back. Like, we're starting to see it grow back.
Right.
Well, there's this huge shift, right? Like I noticed the shift when my kids who are in junior high and high school, they're starting to come down and like sniff around my albums. And they're like, oh, you listen to Deftones and you listen to all this stuff. And they're like, all their friends are obsessed with it. And so
Right.
and then obviously Chino, and then we're hitting it hard. I honestly, I mean, I know Deftones. I mean, some people don't even consider them new metal, which I think is crazy. But hey, whatever. We can get
They
into
are.
that too. They are, but
Yep.
they kind of, them, Lip Biscuit, going out and touring and doing all the crazy dad vibe stuff.
Yeah.
Really kind of got people excited about it. And now it's huge. I mean, rock is back. It was like they did this big push. I was telling Randy, my favorite band of all time is Smashing Pumpkins. Like them, whatever.
Nice.
But Billy Corgan was talking on his podcast not too long ago about how they did this weird thing where maybe like 2005 they started like, I don't know, diluting rock a little bit. And I don't know if you guys noticed that, but
I heard
rock
this.
got
I heard the
really-
same interview.
Yeah.
I know exactly what you're talking about, and
So
he's
it-
so right. It
Yeah.
did happen, and I think that twofold of that was one. I think what do you call it? What was it? The Woodstock '99. I think it kind of scared everybody. Like, holy smokes, these kids. It's not that they're necessarily unhinged. I mean, there's a little bit of that, but the thing is like it was a movement that was getting extraordinarily powerful. And I think they were like, we have to start diluting this, because they're not going to do what we tell them to do. But yeah, then also on top of it, I just think it was just when you could see a person like Fred Durst or whatever command 100,000, 200,000 people like that, it was scary for people. They're used to the original Woodstock where like everybody's just there, just chilling out, just
Peace and love, yeah.
smoking weed, doing whatever and stuff. And it's just a big like loving movement. And it was like we're gonna break some stuff and we're gonna set it on fire and flip over cars. And it was like, okay, but yeah, I think he was right. I think he was dead on that perspective.
Did you guys ever see the documentary that they did on Woodstock '99?
Oh yeah, on Netflix.
Yeah. That's pretty wild.
I showed my kids that thinking, like, hey, this was a point in time, and then they opened up with tits and
I know. I was
and
like,
them tearing
turn
it
it
down.
off.
It was a great documentary though, but it's just like my kids are like, wait, they did what? They see they see him basically burning it down, and they're like, why did they do this? And I'm like, that was our generation.
It's like
totally
Dad, you were cool. Like, what happened? Yeah, it's funny. Yeah, I did the same thing. I was like talking it up. I'm like, oh, cool, Woodstock '99. And before I hit play, I was like, oh man, it was this. There's a little bit of turmoil, with like prices of water and stuff like that, if I recall. But yeah, it was awesome. They just had the best of the best of the best of the best on there. And I was like, that's how most of our shows were. We had like Test Fest 2000, that came out here, And I was like really hyping up. They're like, okay, sounds great, Dad, let's go. Boom, titties. And it was like, oh no. Oh, there was those too. Obviously you guys are here, but yeah.
It's a different time. Different time.
Well, what was it like for you, Randy? I mean, so you grew up in a different time. I mean, you got to go see, you got to experience the 80s and all that. And the 80s were so different than when grunge hit. And that's because I feel like the new metal era, I feel like we kind of owe it to the aggressiveness of grunge. And we kind of just rolled into that. And we were so tired of hearing, boy bands and all this with their rise. And we were all just pissed. We were just angsty young kids who needed an outlet and needed some way. But what was it like for you experiencing it as an 80s kid, seeing it all blast off?
Well, we had so many different genres in the 80s. Like, you had the hair bands. Our version of what metal was at that time is just hard rock. I mean, so, I listened to a lot of AC/DC, that kind of stuff, and Iron Maiden, stuff that maybe isn't what new metal is. but that's, to me, that's where the origins are. Ozzy Osbourne, Black Sabbath.
Oh, sure.
You know, that kind of stuff. That was kind of the stuff I grew up on.
Right.
And then, but seeing the transition over time, you know, got me to start liking the heavier, newer stuff. I mean, that's really, you know, where I was at on it.
I mean, you were a Kiss fan, you know, and an Ozzy fan, so I can only imagine, like, for that, I mean, the terror in your mom's eyes, right? As you come home with the Kiss makeup running down your face and the
satanic panic.
Yeah.
You know, Kiss was just an experience. I mean, it was
sure.
They just put on the pyrotechnics and, you know, blowing stuff up. And I mean, I remember the first time I saw, you know, Def Leppard Pyromania was huge flames and it felt like you're getting burnt, you know, like, but that was just a way to get people's attention. I mean,
sure,
you know, but that part of the hard rock scene to me, I always, so I love it, but I think it's just because I grew up on it, right? I mean, I still go back to those albums. I still think those are some of my favorites.
And I think you bring up something, a really cool point too. You know, I think Ozzy was pivotal in, you know, taking new bands. He took Metallica out. He took Korn out. It was the first time I saw Korn and Deftones, was when they came through Omaha on the ironically No More Tours tour. That was supposed to be his retirement back in, what, 95?
Yeah, 95.
You know, and he played for another 30 years before he passed. Rest in peace, you know. But I think that was I think that meant a lot to him, to Ozzy, to bring new bands and to support. And, you know, especially when it was something new. You know, Metallica was on what, Master of Puppets? Like, I don't think anybody had heard anything like that before. Same thing with Korn and Deftones. You know what I mean? He had the eye for that. And then you get Ozzfest, same scenario, you know. So I think that he was pivotal in introducing all of those kinds of new music to his fans.
So growing up with Ozzy, I mean, I was a junior high, Blizzard of Oz, like that man, I love that, right? And Black Sabbath, that was, you know, that was my rock time. And I guess I kind of feel like maybe I took Ozzy for granted over all that time period, right? And you know, because I'll tell you, when he passed away, I actually was like, holy cow. Like, I kind of felt like there was my childhood or my, you know, the most influential time of music on me was now gone.
Right.
Or now I have to live through it only through listening to music. But I realized how much, I think it never hit me how much of an influence he was to me.
Yeah.
And
I think it even stretches
beyond.
Yeah, I think it even stretches beyond just even that too. I mean, that's a good point. But I think the biggest thing is that, you know, you can say what you want. People say Zeppelin and all this other stuff, but like, I don't care what anybody says. Ozzy was the creator of metal, and you know, it wouldn't be what it is today if it wasn't for him. And so, with that, we've never lived in an era where,
without him,
like if you think of like country music, or you think of, you know, all these other things, you know, it's like we've just always had it our whole lives, and it started way back when we don't even know when, you know, just music in general, whatever. Well, metal was actually started on this day in this time in history, and we've had the creator alive this entire time, and now it's at a point now where that's not there anymore. So now it's like, you know, our children are experiencing like this new generation when kids are being born now. It's like the internet. It's just always been around for them, you know? Yeah. And so it's like, they don't know what it's like to like see this creator that was alive, that was actually maneuvering everything. And I think it's cool. And speaking of which, Ozzfest, they're talking about bringing it back now to do the same thing. And I think it's really, really needed right now.
Who would you like to see headline that? I personally would like to see Zakk Sabbath headline.
I was just going to say that.
Yeah, after seeing them at the Bourbon, and watching an idol of mine, you know, Zakk Wylde, burn it down right in front of me. I mean, he can make himself sound like Ozzy, but he obviously crushes it on guitar. But man, it just brings the whole essence of what they were.
Yeah, and I remember too when. What was that BLS record called? The Blessed Hell Ride, I think was the Black Label record where him and Ozzy had, what was the song called? Stillborn.
Right? Yeah.
Yep. And I was reading an interview with him, and he actually said Ozzy was the one who taught him how to sing, and that's why he sounds like Ozzy sometimes, because that's who taught him. And I'm like, that's as close as we're gonna get. So I agree 1,000,000%. You have Zach Sabbath and maybe a Black Label set somewhere in there on all of those tours, just to keep that connection to Ozzy and to the Osbournes. I think that would be real cool.
Let's dive into you guys. I mean, one thing we do on the show is we like to highlight local Nebraska talent. I'll say we don't like to use local because it's so much bigger than that. And I think what you guys have done in music is bigger than that. So let's talk about your time in Downshift and also your time in Narcotic Self a little bit.
We kind of alluded a little bit, but Downshift, I mean, Dan could probably speak more to it. I mean, it was started before I was there, but but I think, and again, not to disparage, the time before I was there, but I feel like, it really was when Dan and I got together, man, it was just a machine then. Yeah. And we just really kind of took off with it. And, loved all of our bandmates. We had such a great relationship with everybody. It was such a family, and that was super fun. And just everybody that we were involved with, in the business side of everything too, really helped. We spent on our record Blueprint of Suppression, we spent, what was it, Dan, like 10 months in the studio,
easy 10 months.
Recording and mixing and mastering. And I feel like it still holds up today. I think that it shows that we put in all that effort. We had a DVD that came along with it as well, with a bunch of behind the scenes stuff, and our demos are on there. And that was kind of our shtick was, whether it was live, or it was on the record or whatever, it was like we wanted to just bring everything that we possibly could to give everybody an experience. And so we were really well known for our crazy live shows and stuff. And, we brought a ton of lights with us and all that other stuff. And, because we just wanted people to feel like they got their money's worth, because we know what it's like to be on that other side of the ticket, and especially with kids at the time, it was like, tickets were pretty cheap back in the day, $5 to $10, maybe 15, something like that. But it was hard to scrounge that money together. And so we wanted to show that we appreciated that. And so we just did our best to try to bring it live. But, but it was a lot of fun, man. Like I said, we played with a whole bunch of really cool bands. We got to, hang out with a bunch of our idols. I think like one of my favorite days was we played the CD release party for Face Cage in Des Moines, and Corey Taylor was the MC for that day. And so we got to hang out with Corey all day long. And gosh, it was so much fun, man. He was just, what you see out there of Corey Taylor is exactly who he is behind the scenes. He is just wild and crazy and super funny and just a goofball. But he's just the most personable, nice guy. And he is very awkward with people.
Yes.
He's just, I think he's solidly introverted and, but it was so much fun. And I'll never forget that day. It was, as long as I live, that was one of my favorite moments of being in Downshift. It was super cool, but
it was pretty surreal.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. I think, it's interesting too, because when we started that band, it was our drummer and I think we started it in 98, 99, somewhere in there. And, different group of guys. And, we kind of, I don't want to say we kind of rolled with the times, but it developed as it got old. And, we were kind of more, we weren't as aggressive in those earlier days. It was more, I don't want to say Marilyn Manson-y kind of thing, but it kind of was, and we wanted to take it in more of an aggressive direction, the Slipknot kind of direction. And that's where Jeff came in, and it kind of clicked very, very quickly. And we wrote a lot of music very fast. We had a lot already kind of cooking. So when Jeff came in, he had a lot of work to do.
Yeah, but it was fun though with that on my perspective of it, because again, Downshift was already a thing and they were already one of the biggest bands in Omaha at the time. And so, but they very much had, I would add with the Marilyn Manson, very much a Tool vibe as well.
Yes.
And very melodic and it was awesome. And so I was a fan of Downshift going in. Like I said, we played with them a few times and And, you know, and it was so funny. I love telling this story just real quick, but, you know, when I split with my band, you know, at the time I was in this band called An Evil, and we were actually working with Roadrunner Records, and you know, and it just, long story short, just fizzled out. And so it was just kind of depressing, and my brother was in the band with me and everything because it didn't work out, and he was like, I got 2 kids now and stuff, I'm just gonna be the dad now, I'm backing out. I was like, holy crap, I've only played with my brother since I was 17, what am I gonna do? And so yeah, I was just kind of like peeling away. I'm like, you know, maybe I'm just going to join the state patrol and follow this dream instead and everything. And so, and I was married at the time with a kid, and my wife was just like, after about 2 or 3 months, she's like, what is wrong with you? I'm like, I miss being a musician, man. I just miss writing. I miss being in the studio. I miss playing live. I miss the whole thing. And she's like, well, if you could be with any band in the whole world, who would it be? And I was like, Mudvayne. But I'm like, that's not going to happen. But I'm like, on a local level, I was like, they would never have me. I was like, but I'd love to be in Downshift. I was like, I love that band so much. They're just so on point. I think I'm a good fit for it and everything. I was like, but they would never bring me on. I was like, they got their singer and everything, da 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 da. And then so, you know, long story short, she was just like, just go on Slam Omaha. If you remember Slam Omaha, oh my gosh. But go on Slam Omaha, put your stuff out there and, you know, see if anybody bites. And I was like, oh, all right, fine. So I did. And I had, you know, a number of people reach out to me, and I was talking with a bunch of people and stuff. And then there's just one dude who was just like being super like reclusive with his information. He was like, I can't tell you who I am. I can't tell you, you know, what band we are. I can't, all this other stuff. And I'm like, why are you being so secretive? And I was like, that's kind of weird, you know, but either which way, but we were just talking about,
it
like,
worked though.
It worked, obviously, but it just, we're talking about influences and all this stuff. And it was just like, next thing I know, it was just like all day long, we're just emailing each other back and forth. And I was like, did we just become best friends? You know, it was really cool. Yeah. But then finally he was like, okay, don't tell anybody. But, you know, he's like, I'm from Downshift, and, you know, we decided to part ways with our singer and stuff, but we'd like to have you come over. And I don't remember how many guys you had, you know, try out, Dan. You had quite a few, and you're like having us do like non-disclosures and all this other stuff.
Quite a few painful auditions. No offense to anybody who may have done it, but yeah, we wanted to keep it kind of under wraps to kind of minimize that, you know, because at the time, I mean, we're talking what, 2002, 3 ish, you know, home recording wasn't nearly what it is today. And, you know, so asking people for a demo, like, you know, hey, you know, sing to one of our songs, like that, just nobody had the capability to do that except very few, you know. So we wanted to kind of minimize the audition process best we could, you know, to kind of cut down on people we knew weren't a good fit, because that was the only way to really vet them. Unless they were in another band that we knew of. So, and we had played, you know, with you several times prior. So we're like, oh yeah, okay. Yeah, we know who you are.
Let's give this guy a shot.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, we had representation at the time, and management, and, you know, we were lucky to be kind of part of an incubator here in Omaha. The scene was very well taken care of by folks in terrestrial radio, promoters and venue owners. There was just a lot of support, which helped a lot. We were, you know, coached, I suppose you'd call it, pushed in the right direction. And people were on that side very honest with us. This will work, this won't work, do this, do that, you know, and everybody trusted each other. And I think that's why it ultimately kind of peaked where it did, you know, for us. I guess I shouldn't say peaked, because, you know, that support system is still there to a certain degree. Times are just different now. You know, 20 years ago, social media wasn't really a thing yet. You know, MySpace was a thing. But even that was kind of, that was even kind of in its infancy. Yeah. That's how long ago this was, folks.
I miss MySpace though. Gosh,
yeah.
That's fun.
Yeah, I mean, like, let's be honest, it's better than Facebook ever was.
Amen.
Although I do like Instagram, I will say. It's very low involvement, you know what I mean? But yeah, I mean, times were, you know, that 2005, 6, 7 period was very transitional. and not just from a music standpoint, from a technology standpoint, from a cultural standpoint. You know, the metalcore thing was starting to come in. Everybody was doing, you know, the 5/7/8 riffs, you know, on guitar, you know, and I think Avenged Sevenfold was just starting to become a name. So that was kind of being ushered into kind of the scene, I guess, you know, nationally. But you know, everybody was trying to, I guess everybody was trying to find their way around that time. I think is the only way to put it. Everybody was trying to find their record deal, you know, and Slipknot was massive, you know, and everybody was, you know, we were all in the shadow of that, you know, and everybody wanted their record deal with Roadrunner and all of that stuff. And everybody was trying to figure out how to get there. Sometimes, you know, and this is kind of what happened to us, you know, there was a band here in Omaha at the time was called Emphatic, who had signed with, and Jeff, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe they signed with Universal.
Universal, yeah.
And, you know, they needed a drummer. And, you know, the scene was very close. Everybody knew everybody. And if they didn't, they knew it was like 1 degree separation. You know, you know, our drummer Cameron, you know, decided to make the jump to go with them and get them where they needed to go. You know, that was certainly a difficult time, I think, for all of us. But, you know, I remember telling him, it's like, hey, if I were you, I'd probably be doing it. Yeah. You know, if this is what you want, if this is.
Yeah, we fully supported it. We understood, you know, so.
If this is your shot, I can't fault you for leaving. You know,
absolutely.
And, you know, he and I had built that band from nothing. You know, it started with him and I in his mom's basement. That's where that band started. You know, and it was, you know, to me, it was very difficult to do it without him. We tried.
Yep, for sure.
And I think this is the first time I'm probably ever going to say this, but I probably owe his replacement an apology of some kind. You know, it's hard to bring somebody in, you know, who was such a pivotal member and creative force, you know, replacing them with somebody who was perfectly capable as a drummer. He was, you know, absolutely capable, and he still is. He's still a fantastic drummer.
Very talented dude.
But the difference was chemistry. You know, and that was it was not nearly to the same degree. So I had trouble writing because, again, this is back in the day where home recording it was very difficult. You know, you didn't have, you know, your digital audio workstations and plugins for everything. And, you know, you were sitting in a room facing each other trying to write music, you know, and that's very foreign to people now. And, you know, so that you really discover and develop this chemistry with people. So, you know, when it's just the two of you in a basement for 2 years, you know, you kind of develop that chemistry in that relationship. So when that's gone, it's noticeable. And I think that's kind of what happened. And I mean,
and I think to add to that too, again, the chemistry is huge, you know, but the other part of it too is like, because a lot of people ask me, like, what happened with Downshift? Why did you guys break up? And I'm like, I say it all the time, we never broke up. We just stopped. We were tired. You know, I mean, we were freaking working hard. And plus, you guys know, I mean, you're all working your own jobs and doing this. I mean, we weren't making enough money to support families or anything on this, you know, so we were just trying to get there to do that, you know, but we were playing shows all the time. We were traveling here, traveling there, recording, you know, all sorts of stuff. And we were tired. And then with that shift from Cameron over to Ron, you know, again, Ron was a super talented drummer and everything. And he was a very, very nice guy. He's probably top 5 nicest people in the music industry. He's a sweetheart of a guy. And it was great. We wrote some good music together and everything. But again, like what Dan said, it just wasn't that feeling anymore. And again, like I said, we kind of went into that already tired, and that was just kind of a pretty heavy blow, you know, with Cam leaving, and so I want to say we never recovered or anything. It was just like I remember our last show that we played at the Rock in Omaha and Papillion, I think. Is that Papillion or Lewis?
It's a bike store now.
It's a bike store now. I know. Go figure. But yeah, we played with Face Cage and Dirt Fed and Sidewise from Kansas City. And Was there anybody else? I can't remember. If there was, I apologize.
Did Idol play that show? Idol Apathy?
No, Idol wasn't on that show. I think that was it. It was us, Face Gauge, Sidewise, Dirt Fed.
Making good on our trade shows.
Correct. Well, and like we put that show together, and we wanted to have like all the biggest players of the area. So like Lincoln, Kansas City, Des Moines, and Omaha. And
that was them.
Yeah, and it was a huge show. It was freaking awesome. And that was our last one, and it was just kind of like, we headlined that show. It was so much fun. We really brought it all visually, all this, you see all this stuff nowadays where they have the big visuals in the background with like the TV screens and all this other stuff. And it's like, we did that, back then. That was 06.
Yeah,
is that right?
Ask you what year that was.
Yeah, I think it was October of 2006. I think it was our last show. And we had this big, screen in the back that had all these visuals going on and everything. And it was just like, wow, and like to end it there, it just kind of felt right. And again, we just, after that show, we like went back to like unload our equipment, and we never had the discussion or anything. It was just like, we just were like, we'll come back tomorrow. We're tired. We'll come back tomorrow and unload tomorrow. And then we just never did. It was just, we just kind of all just kind of knew, collectively, it was just like, that was a fun one to end on, and we're like, let's just take a couple weeks off and we'll get back together. And then we just never did, which is totally fine. And I love that it ended that way, because you could see that there was, could have been some negativity and stuff, because it just, people get tired and hangry or whatever, the thing is. And we just got to a point where it was like we cared more about each other than we cared about, the longevity of the band. And so it was just like, it was just time. And we all kind of went our separate ways and stuff. But the cool thing is, Dan and I, we stayed in touch all the way through the years. And, but then like, kind of like what you guys were saying, it was just like new metal's making this movement back. And I was like, you know what? Let's do something about this, and it was, I'm too old to do the stage stuff again. So I'm like, let's do a podcast, because I've been podcasting for a while. I'm like, let's start a podcast together. So,
yeah. And I think you reached out to me about a year ago, actually.
Yeah, about a year ago.
About, you're like, hey, I got this idea for a podcast. Have you ever done a podcast? I'm like, no, never done one. Yep. I mean, I've done them, but I've never, had
you've been on them before.
Yeah. And I'm like, I could probably stumble through it if you want to give it a shot. And, here we are, 36, 37 episodes later.
Yep. And again, we just got, like you guys do, you guys got good chemistry and stuff, and it's like just like brothers, and it's so natural. And that's the thing. And you guys will know, it's like you do all the research and everything. It's like, if you can make it past the first 10 episodes, then that you got something. And that's why I told Dan, I was like, we just got to get past 10, and doesn't matter. It's the same thing as like playing live. It doesn't matter if there's 10 people in the crowd or 1,000 or whatever. You just got to be consistent and just keep going. And it's just a slow burn, and it builds up and everything. And we've been pretty blessed, with some of our episodes, doing pretty well. And, whatever, we've had some cool guests on and stuff, and that's fun. And it's just, but the thing is, again, Dan and I just have such an amazing chemistry together. Like, I think there's only been one time in our entire life that we had a disagreement. And it was like,
what was that?
That was at the 9th Street basement.
Pizza or something. What we're having dinner.
Oh no, the 9th Street basement. That wasn't one of your places, was it? The 9th Street basement?
I was there after they closed.
Okay.
So I did some shows there, but it was after it wasn't the 9th Street basement anymore.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I remember the night you're referring to now.
Yeah. And it was a weird night, dude. I don't remember the band that we played with, Dan, but we were pretty good friends with them. I can't remember the name of them, but they're kind of a flash in the pan. I mean that no disrespect, but we love those guys. They're great. But either which way, we played with them, and like for whatever reason, two guys in their bands absolutely hated each other. And they like fought like cats and dogs all the time. And when I mean fought, I mean fist fought all the time. And so I think it was like after they played, we were kind of hanging outside smoking or something like that. And then they just freaking wham, just started getting this fight. And like I broke it up. Fists are flying over me and everything. And it was like we got them on the ground and everything. It was so freaking crazy. I'm like, what are you guys doing? And it was just like, it just kind of put this energy in the air all night of just negative energy. And then we had an outstanding show that night, which was great. I'll never forget that show. It was great. And then, but then it was just like, I think everybody wanted to party, you know, like, let's go party afterwards. And I'm like, again, I was married and had a kid, and my wife was pregnant, I think, at the time with our second one. And I'm like, dude, we gotta get back. My wife's gonna kill me. And he's like, no, we're just gonna go do this and stuff. And I was riding with them, so I really had no say so. And so I kind of blew up, and I felt so bad. But I was like, after this, like slamming with the doors and stuff. And Dan's just like, okay, we're going back home, you know.
Yeah,
and then I felt bad. I felt so bad.
I mean, the last thing we needed to be doing was doing any after partying.
Yeah,
because the 9th Street basement was kind of that was a drinking on the job kind of show.
Yeah.
You know, with the little mini pitchers and you know, all that kind of stuff. Like we had no business, especially having to drive home afterwards.
Yeah,
you know,
for sure.
None of us were going to stay in Lincoln.
I want to tell a story, but I don't want to get it. I don't want to incriminate myself.
Go ahead, just put me or somebody else in the.
Oh, I don't know if I can, but
no, don't put me.
Change the names.
I did throw a pretty big party down there for my birthday.
Nice
place that turned into a almost all night, to where if the cops down the street would have saw all the people just coming out the door at 4 a.m, I was definitely going to jail.
Yeah.
I even hate to put this out right now, but
out in the wild, there's one creature feared by hunters, admired by lumberjacks, and envied by hipsters.
Yeah, it's me, the elegant Sasquatch, and let me tell you, these locks don't tame themselves.
Introducing the Elegant Sasquatch Grooming Company. Beard oils, butters, and washes so good, they'll make your face smell like you wrestled a cedar tree while sipping fine whiskey.
Last week, a hiker followed me for 3 miles just to ask what cologne I was wearing. Joke's on him, I don't wear cologne. I wear the Gentleman.
Upgrade your beard game. Sophisticate your outer beast. Find the Elegant Sasquatch Grooming Company at elegantsasquatchco.etsy.com.
And stop stealing my jerky!
funny that, you know, first off, I love your story. I mean, I just, you know, we love getting into bands and how they develop and how that chemistry, and we can totally see it with you guys. And it's kind of funny because, you know, and that was kind of my time period of when I started getting into the metal scene and promoting metal bands and our local scene metal. And, you know, that 2007 on was kind of where I really got into it for 4 or 5 years, really. I mean, the metal band scene really made my one bar. Like, it was.
That was at the Spigot, right?
At the Spigot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
So, you know, that scene was so cool. Everybody got along. All the bands that played supported each other, and like always packed the place. Some of the best people, some of the best times, best parties. I mean, it was a great time period for me to be, you know, promoting metal. And, you know, just like you guys, you know, I guess 12 years ago, kind of got out of it, kind of found myself like, man, what can I do to keep, you know, I miss it. Just like you were talking about, you just miss it. And when you've kind of been in the music scene for a while, in whatever capacity, you get into it and you love it. And I don't know, it was, kind of little pre-COVID time. I was talking to Ken. I was like, man, and he's saying the same thing. Well, I'm not playing much anymore. My band's broke up, or, you know, I'm just playing music. And I said, well, we were bored. You know, but I still want to help the scene somehow. I want to promote music. I want to promote entertainment.
That's awesome.
And I was promoting a lot of other stuff. I was promoting National Comics and you know, I had certain local rock bands that I was really behind that were friends of mine that I really had invested in helping them be successful, and then the metal. And I did do some rap shows at the one place. It was just kind of trying to just stay current. But, but definitely, you know, we said the same thing, man. If we could get past 10 episodes, we just did our 100th.
Yeah, congratulations.
Congratulations. I saw that.
We really felt like, you know, that was a kind of a big milestone for us for really
100% is.
And and we've seen the progression. I mean, that's the whole thing. We've had a lot of full circle moments of, just like talking to you guys, talking about that time period, like that brings back a lot of certain memories of the music scene. How about you, Kane? It's kind of the same
Oh,
thing.
it's a flood of memories for me. Listening to you guys talk, I'm sure I saw you guys play at many different shows. And I was just a fat nerdy kid, just trying to make my way in the world. And guys like you guys really set it off for me. And so I like to take opportunities like this to just like talking to Brock from Dirt Fed and
Sure. Yeah.
is to tell you guys how much that meant for and I say kids because we were like right out of high school and in high school, this type of stuff. It meant everything. It gave us a place to let our freak flag fly and be ourselves where people weren't shoving us down and calling us losers. So I just want to, take the opportunity to thank guys like you for just being a mouthpiece for some of us kids out there.
Oh man, I
that means a
appreciate
lot.
that.
Thank you.
Yeah, it does mean a lot. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but yes, that's the thing. I mean, we were in the same boat though. It's just we were flying our own freak flags, and it's just and I think that's kind of the thing about the metal community that's so special is that it doesn't matter if you're on stage or in front of it, we're all connected, we're all family. I mean, in a weird way, it's kind of like the Juggalo ICP thing. It's just
sure,
it's just its own movement, and it's cool when you go to a show and you see somebody that's there that's like 60 some years old and standing right next to a kid that's 19. And they're both just banging, getting into it. It's super rad. But I hate to bounce here, guys. I got to go, but it's been such a pleasure. You guys continue talking and stuff, and hopefully talk about Narcotic and everything here. So, but it's been such a pleasure, guys, and I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks for sitting down with us, man.
You bet. All right. Take care.
Thanks.
See ya.
Take care. All right. Well, remember now, this is good to know. Jeff didn't leave because he hated the show. Jeff had things to go. He didn't walk off the set and go screw these guys. But now that we have you,
some people
Dan,
do have priorities in their life, and we were fortunate enough to get Jeff for a little bit of time, and
that's right.
We can wrap up with Dan. I mean, this is
absolutely Dan's got plenty to. Dan, what I want to talk to you about is I noticed what was it, about maybe like 4 or 5 days ago. You guys is brought back to life video. It eclipsed like 80,000 views or something. Let's talk about that video and let's talk a little bit about Narcotic Self.
Absolutely. I think the video, because that was such a surprise to us, how well that's gone over. We've kind of been eyeballing. I think we're close to 98K on that now, which is a pretty big milestone for us. Narcotic has been around for. I think Jesse started it around the time we started Downshift, to be honest, so like the late 90s. So it's a super cool moment for us because it's a song and a video. I think that means a lot to all of us, of course, but even more so to Jesse. That song is very personal to him. And it's very personal to me too, because I think it's the only song in the Narcotic catalog that has a bass solo in it. So I'm, pretty proud of that, and that it's doing as well as it is, of course. In the video, I remember when he was talking to me about the concept that he had for this video, because the whole concept, of the song is kind of based around Frankenstein's monster, that kind of thing. And, he had this idea with the lightning and electricity and all that. And he's like, I got to get it on everybody's faces. And so he had this long-term vision that took several months to really kind of flush out. And he spent an ungodly amount of time editing that video because he's so particular in his vision. And so he's certainly very, very proud of it, as are we all. It's a different type of song for us. But as we've kind of been talking about, everybody kind of, you continue to develop, as an artist and a musician. And, even a podcast or a song or a band, everything continues to grow, right? And, as you kind of hone your skills as a musician and artist and all of those things. And I think it kind of, it certainly culminated with that video. I think that song was one of the last to come out because what Narcotic had done, we recorded, I don't remember even how many songs, but a solid batch of songs. And, we were kind of talking. It's like, okay, do we press a physical CD vinyl scenario, or do we just put out singles and try that kind of methodology out, which is, everybody's telling you it's like one song like every 90 days because it keeps you relevant. It keeps you promoting something. And, we found out very quickly that that's something they tell you to keep the machine running. That's what keeps, Spotify in business, and, the distributors, the CD babies and distro kids. It's like, okay, do that, because then you're paying that fee over and over and over and over again. And, and then you're paying to promote it. You're paying these, whatever your strategy is to promote, you're paying for it, whether it's Google ads or, meta ads or whatever it is, and it's just rinse, repeat over and over and over again. If you do an album, it's a little bit different of a promotional strategy. And, we learned very quickly, it's like, okay, we probably should have done the latter and pressed, CDs. We'd still put it out for streaming and all that. But the physical stuff is the only way people make money anymore at an independent level. And even at, a signed national level, really, so I think that's what the future holds for that batch of music. I think there's going to be a physical pressing of some kind, whether that's CD, vinyl, I don't know. Still kind of talking about things and running numbers and all that. And, there's a couple songs that we haven't released that may come out on a physical version. But still kind of being chatted through and all that. And, we're all in our, mid to late 40s, now. So it's kind of like we're in no rush.
I know. I would love to get a pressed Narcotic self for my own collection. I mean, tell me you guys are pressing these, because you guys, physical copies are coming back huge. Like, did you just see what was it, like a week or so ago? They had something come out about how vinyl sales have eclipsed in the billions now.
It was the first time in 30 years that it went over billion sales again.
And people are going nuts over it. And you can see it when I go to record stores.
They're not cheap.
They're not cheap, but people are there constantly. I mean, the traffic is nonstop. So it's got to be working.
I think people miss the physical format, because streaming a song is great and it's fine if I'm in the car or whatever, but if I really want to experience a piece of music, I either need a CD or I need the vinyl. And I'll be honest with you, I don't even have a turntable right now, and I'm still buying vinyl because it's like, I want, like, it's just cool to look at. You know what I mean? And I actually have, since, the show is kind of, Scratch the Vinyl and whatnot, I actually have kind of my top 5 vinyls that were within arm reach.
Yes,
right here.
Please. Yes,
that I'll share with you in a second here. But I really enjoy it because, I don't know, you feel more a part of it. You know what I mean? And streaming, the artist in me feels like it cheapens the art, and it does to a certain degree. Like, there are certain frequencies that they remove when you digitize a song that are there on a vinyl. I mean, you guys know this, that's why everybody says it sounds warmer, because those frequencies are there. But you get the cover and the photo and the insert and all that kind of cool collector stuff that I think people forgot about, and then unfortunately got used to not having.
See, Dan, just so you know, you are one of us.
Mm-hmm.
This is the premise of the beginning of our show. This is how the whole concept started.
Yeah,
because that was my teenage years of absorbing music. It was a big deal to go to the record store, come through the albums, pick out the ones, pull them out, see what the cover, it was a big deal to have the lyrics on the inside, but the picture, and then you'd have certain bands that put out bonus stuff in them. It was a big deal. And then for us, of course, to be able to take an album back home, put the headphones on, listen to it front to back, find the hidden gems, it became obvious to us over time was, the industry pushing what they wanted as their number one hits. But then we always joke that, that was like maybe the 3rd best song on that album.
Yeah. Totally.
But you're just speaking our language. It's what we believe.
Yeah.
It's all about the physical copy. I mean, you know, for me, I came up in the tape era. When I was I mean, tapes were huge. You know, cassettes. I still collect cassettes. Then CDs hit, and I had to have you know, you still kind of got that feel that you got from you know, you still got the inserts, and you know, you get everything. But then as time progressed, this era that we're in right now just smashes all of that, and it just sucks. It takes all of the stuff that we love about it, right? Owning the personal thing, you know, clutching it next to our pillow and holding it tight.
Well, we're gonna get to Dan showing his, but I'm gonna tell Dan before you came on. Kane has this box set of Smashing Pumpkins box set with basically the lyric book. Like we were like little kids at the candy store pulling it out.
Yeah.
Like we don't want to scratch it, we don't want to ruin it.
We lightly pull it out.
But we literally were like, yeah, just like total kids playing with our toys.
Do you guys remember when CDs came in boxes? The long boxes?
Oh yeah.
I used to collect those, and I mean, this is early, not like when they first came out. The format was first introduced, and I would collect those, and I would hang them up on my wall. So like my wall was full of the long boxes, you know, and those are long gone. I mean, I'm 46 now, so
you almost never see those even in like because I look for them. I would love to have some long box of those. I always tell a story of back when CDs first hit, I had a girlfriend give me a CD and I didn't know what to do with it. So I just pitched it immediately. It was like a Bengals. I'm like, what the hell? You know, Bengals are fine. But I'm like, why'd she give me this? And what the hell am I going to do with it? Toss? You know, I had no idea. And then it became the huge thing that just crushed everything for a while.
Yeah. It's wild. You know, it was cool to have something, you know, and you felt like you got your money's worth. I remember when iTunes was kind of the bridge to streaming or whatever, you still had to pay for it, but you didn't get anything. And I was kind of like, what did I just pay for? I mean, I paid for the music and I know that, and it's on my iPod now, which is a paperweight, you know, but like, I always felt like I kind of got ripped off, you know? So anyway.
Let's see him, man. We're like, I'm gripping at this point.
We're now excited to see what your top 5 are.
So
we were top 5. We were talking about our tops today.
Oh yeah.
So top 5 within arm's reach. So, and what I mean by that is all my Van Halen is upstairs. So that would be 1 through 5, but that's all upstairs. So
Van Halen was in my top 10.
It was, yeah.
Yeah. So some of these. So I'm a new metal guy, of course. That's kind of been my whole thing. No new metal in here. That's kind of the catch there. And I guess I just never really bought any of that on vinyl, to be honest with you. It was always kind of, there's some 80s stuff in there, some 90s stuff, and then one more current that it was a band that I auditioned for, didn't get the job, and it became kind of a whole thing on the show. But so the first one, Everybody Laughs. Everybody Laughs.
Oh,
it's the first Winger album. The guitar playing on this is outstanding. You know, this has got 17 and Madeline and Hungry. Still in the plastic.
I remember that album.
That album's unbelievable. And he's right. The guitar playing is like
it's
out
superb.
Of this world, man. Yeah.
It's superb. You know, and people make fun of Winger all the time, but I actually saw them not that long ago. They're tremendous live.
I love this, Randy. This is the top 5 within arm's reach. I love it.
Yeah. So this is there's been kind of a recent, I don't want to say trend, but a lot of like heavier bands have started to cover some of these songs. Huey Lewis and the News.
Absolutely. I got that copy.
I'm a huge.
I think I have guy. 2 of this for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. This and 4. I don't have 4 on vinyl, but I think I've owned this on every format that's ever existed.
Plus, that was during MTV days too. Like they played Huey Lewis on MTV.
Oh yeah. I mean, Back to the Future just pushed him into the stratosphere.
Yeah.
But yeah, Huey Lewis and the News, sports.
Love it.
Yeah. So now we're getting into some of the other stuff. I think Jeff and I may have talked about this stuff, but I don't know. 9 Inch Nails has always been huge for me. Pretty Hate Machine.
We were talking about that one too before the show.
Yeah. I got this from a buddy of mine. Yeah. And I've been working on a version of Ring Finger for like 20 years, like a heavy version of the song Ring Finger. And it escapes me. I just can't nail it down. Nothing sounds the way I want it to. But yeah, pretty hate machine. This one, if you guys throw this up on YouTube, you may have to blur this one out a little bit.
I'll just put my face over whatever it is.
It's the original pressing of Far Beyond Driven.
Oh, wow.
And that's a butthole.
Blur it out.
Yeah. So yeah, I got this off a buddy of mine too. And when I didn't realize there was an alternate cover. I was like, wait a minute, what is that? Oh, yeah.
Because the other cover is the blue. It's like blue, like a kind of like a flaming skull type thing, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. The drill I think is like going into the forehead or something.
Yeah.
But we're huge Pantera people, so
you've got the butthole version, which is unbelievable.
yeah, the butthole version. So this last one, this was a band that, like I mentioned, I did audition for. I don't think you'll have to blur this out because she's covered, but it was an interesting process for sure. And kind of going back to the 80s, the hair metal thing. I don't know what your guys' feeling on Steel Panther is, but balls out. Their second record.
They're keeping it alive, man. You know, in their weird way, they're keeping that alive.
Totally. I mean, look at that.
Yeah.
You know,
didn't they just play? Maybe it was now probably almost a year ago, but they were around again.
I think they came to the Bourbon.
I think, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man!
Wow, yeah. What a top five! So I mean, and to me though, that kind of thing that makes perfect sense. You say, you know, it's weird. I'm a new metal guy. Everybody kind of knows that I'm that guy, but that's really what new metal is. New metal is such a pot of all of these musicians who just want to express themselves in a certain way. So to me, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, no, I agree 1,000,000%. I think, you know, new metal was kind of it was just such a melting pot of everything that was going on, you know, and we listened to everything, you know, as kids, you know, when we were starting to develop as musicians, you know, it's like 9 Inch Nails and Rage Against the Machine and Korn, Deftones, you know, Limp Bizkit came out. When did $3 Bill come out? Like 97?
I think it was 97. It had to have been 90. It might have been 96 because I just got to high school. It's right around.
Yeah. So it's like we were already in it when that came out, and we're like, oh yeah, okay, this is cool. So we were already kind of warmed up to that kind of thing. But you know, those records really did kind of shape that. And Sepultura, Roots, that was another one we covered like the entire album. You know, like bands we were in when we were kids. It's like we would always cover, you know, the first Korn album and Adrenaline, and then, you know, Rage Against the Machine, and then Roots was always, you know, a part of that too. And I think those records really influenced who we eventually became as musicians, for sure, especially in the early Downshift days. You know, I was writing guitar riffs that, I mean, I was ripping off Max, you know, from Sepultura, you know, and all that stuff. But and then, you know, first Slipknot record kind of changed planet Earth for a lot of folks here. So
this has just been such a blast of an episode, man. I mean, I would honestly have you guys back anytime so we could
totally.
This feels fantastic.
I just wanted to say that I was gonna just, Dan, thanks so much, and tell Jeff thanks for we got as much as we could get out of Jeff before he had to take off. But I just want to leave that as an open invitation that we just do it again. Like this was just the tip 100%. Of the iceberg of stuff, and man, appreciate what you're doing. I love, you know, as much as kind of we came up with the Scratch the Vinyl when we were allowed, man, love that. And so Scratch the Vinyl listeners, man, go check out Dan and Jeff's podcast When We Were Allowed. Just go check them out.
We were loud once.
Oh, we were loud once.
we were loud.
You know why
we were.
You know why I did that? My dyslexia to that is because Kiss, I love it loud. That's you know, that's one of my go-tos.
I just didn't want to end on Randy says the podcast name wrong. This
why do I always do that?
It's that senior moment you're always talking about.
See, I'm 10 years older than you guys, so it's like, what the hell? No, you guys, but man, we hope our listeners go check out your show because
absolutely.
I don't know. We started watching it we started following you guys maybe about a year ago, right?
I've been basically, it came across naturally to me, and because I mean algorithms or whatever, I've been probably listening and watching you guys the whole time. Like
Yeah.
if there was one guy that pinged somewhere, I'm telling you at first, it was absolutely me because I saw that you got, like, when I realized what it was, or maybe I saw a short or something, I was like, holy crap, like this is they're talking about new metal. I mean, like, this is my whole existence at one time. So, man, you guys are just doing a fantastic
were talking with
job.
Jesse. We were talking with Jesse.
Yep.
And from Narcotic Self. And then we kind of went on a run of doing a lot. We got back into just doing a lot of episodes about the metal scene again, and kind of in fact, we kind of stuck with it for quite a few episodes where we knew we needed to vary it back up again, but then we brought it back. But that was kind of the time, it was like it kind of re-sparked our energy to get back into checking out the metal scene again. And and of course then talking, Kane was on the Metal Manifesto with John Cruz, and so it just everything just kind of evolved. And of course, and when we saw started seeing clips from you guys, it's like, yeah, this is like, we're happy to see that there's more emphasis of just promoting the scene again and getting live music back up. And so we, obviously I don't get to Omaha much anymore, as much as I'd ever like. And even it's hard to sometimes to see a lot of shows here in Lincoln for me, but I still love seeing it. And it's good to see that, everything we hear, that the Omaha scene is still doing really, really well. And
it's interesting because Lincoln, I mean, last year, so 2025, we didn't play in Omaha at all. I think every show we played was in Lincoln. We played, who did we play with? We played with Exhorter at 1867. We played with Suffocation at the Bourbon, and then we played with Fear Factory at the Bourbon. And I think those were the only 3 shows that we did last year. Because like I said, we're all in our, mid to late 40s. And I think, Rick is actually 50. Don't kill me, Rick, for saying that. But, so it's kind of like, we still got gas in the tank. And we played Omaha. We played Omaha a couple weeks ago, but that was the first time in probably a year and a half. So it's interesting because Lincoln has been a little more. I don't want to say receptive to the music, but it seems like on a national level, those bands are going to Lincoln as opposed to Omaha for whatever reason. And honestly, I love playing Lincoln. I play Lincoln any day of the week.
Well, Dan,
except Monday.
Anything we can ever do to help promote what you guys are playing here in Lincoln, or just get the word out for you guys, please let us know.
I appreciate that.
Any new music release, just drop us a line. We'd love to promote what you guys are doing.
I appreciate that very much. It's definitely challenging to stand out in kind of this new environment that music exists in now, where people can create a professionally produced album literally in their bedroom, and master it online and put it out, and it really does it makes it hard to stand out and get attention, and, we're very grateful that, that Brought Back to Life has been getting some of that. We, of course, as a band, we still have goals and, things we want to do, as a band and individually. Believe it or not, having done this for 30 some odd years now, like there's still things that I would like to do, places I would like to play. I've never played the Whiskey in LA, so that's on my bucket list. Those kinds of things, but yeah, so there's still a lot to do, I guess. But no, I appreciate that very much.
Yeah. Well, I'll use this as an opportunity to pimp our sponsors. But I'm going to preface by saying, with what Dan was saying was, see, we're going through this change now in Lincoln where we're promoting this new music district. And there's just, it's all getting started. We've been putting out some episodes about it, and really with the music box and the opportunities for bands to create music and record. It's now all available for these guys. Like, if you're really getting into it, we now have a scene for for up and coming bands to really start to do something.
That's so cool.
And Lincoln is investing in it, which is
Yeah.
huge. Like we were blown away finding out all the stuff that's happening. We got involved with Noisel, Nebraska, which is a streaming service for Nebraska artists to put their music on.
Really?
So we encourage everybody to do that,
including you guys,
including you guys, because you can get paid for it.
What's it called again?
It's called Noisel. So Noizel is what it is, and you can find them at you can put in Noisel, Nebraska, or just put in go to noisel.com, and yeah, man, it's an app that you can, just like Spotify and all of that, but it's incredible. And not only that, Randy, but they're going to be playing these artists down in this district at all times. So they're going to have speakers all through downtown Lincoln.
That's so cool.
Yeah. So you guys got to get on there.
And it's only going to be Nebraska artists. It's like, this is going to be big. And
that's so awesome.
We're just they've been slowly piecing it together. And now some of the real construction is going to start here in about 2 months.
Yeah.
But the next 2 years, Lincoln is going to be a real serious music hub again.
That's so awesome. So because I heard, I think back in September when we were down there, I heard about it. And so where is it? Because it's going to be a lot of different things, right? It's going to be venues and all sorts of stuff, right?
Yes. You know where the Zoo Bar is?
Sure.
So it's going to be in that area. So you're still going to be in proximity to all the kind of main venues that are still promoting, like the Bourbon, Bodegas, 1867, all that's still going to be in play. They don't want to take away from what's already there.
Sure.
Basically, but they want to build it so it's more music friendly, and everything they're doing is ultimately promoting, local talent, giving them opportunities to perform, to record, to collaborate. There's going to be a history area where you can learn about the history of music in Lincoln and the venues that were here. I mean, everything. It's not just one thing. They've really put a very progressive plan for Lincoln to be a music hub for the future.
That's so awesome. Omaha has done that to a very limited extent. Down in the Benson area of Omaha, you have that was the first area that actually has rehearsal spaces for bands, because that's increasingly rare. Everybody's basement's finished now, and it's not, people don't want bands rehearsing in there and all that kind of stuff. So they were, to my knowledge anyways, the first, but even those are super expensive. And there's a handful of venues down there, and we play down there frequently, but nothing to where it's a place for artists. And I think that that a place for artists to be creative and to feel creative, because that's very important too. It's that vibe,
audio and visual stuff. In fact, you're going to have the ability to go in and press your own vinyl.
Yeah, he talked about getting, kind of like the Zakk Wylde thing in Nashville. They're going to get what they're talking about, getting one of those so people could actually, press. Wow. And so Lincoln is doubling down.
Not tripling. It's really not going to be that expensive. Really, what the prices he was telling us to become a member, especially if you're committed to your craft and wanting to be a serious artist, this is reasonable.
It's like $220 a year for the whole band. To have access to this place, like a membership. It's pretty crazy. Yeah, it's unreal.
So we're excited. Of course, it's just a lot going on. So
I'm excited for you.
So again,
I'm jealous.
Well, we're just going to make you a part of it, Dan.
Yeah.
We're going to invite you to come on whenever, and when big things happen or you guys are going to be playing in town, man, we want to know about it. And again, I'm going to wrap up with you, Dan. Just say again, thanks for what you're doing, and keep promoting the scene and keep putting out your music. We love it. And we hope to have you on again.
Absolutely. Anytime, guys. I appreciate you guys having us on, and we're fans of your show as well. So yeah, anytime. Great conversation. Love it.
Well, in closing, everybody I know, because I'm a connoisseur and a consumer of what they do, you can find them everywhere, just like you can find us. You can find the We Were Loud Ones podcast everywhere out there. And man, it's just a blast having you on. And we just want to thank you for all the scratchaholics out there. I'm talking about Scratchamania. You guys keep scratching and keep running wild and keep coming back every week as we catch you on the flip side here on
Scratch the Vinyl. Scratch the Vinyl.